Hello, this is Friday, the 18th of December, a week away from Christmas. And I hope you're all getting excited, or at least finding some kind of interior joy or a sense of expectation. I know that it's tough, when things seem to be all over the place in the world and nothing seems to be where we left it, right? But in some ways, that's our faith. Jesus always takes us to a new place, and I pray that, Christmas this year for each one of us will take us to a different place. But remember, we go to a different place with Him, not we don't go there alone. So I was reading something about Advent, because this is like, 1 week now. It's the final week of Advent. And if you remember what I said at the beginning of Advent, make sure you catch on fast, because with Advent, blink and you'll miss it. It'll be gone, right? Well, we blinked and Advent is almost gone. So there's one more week now in which we prepare ourselves spiritually, ready for this great feast, and we start to think maybe about our own existence and our life, and we start to think about our families and our loved ones, and and this year especially, we can't be with everybody that we want to be with. I know that over in Britain, my family are trying to get together, but the restrictions are so tight over there. It's in law that they can't all gather. They can only meet with a certain number of people, which would exclude others. So it doesn't look like they'll be gathering at all. It's very tough. So, and I know that many people, even if the rules allow you to do it, you're not really sure whether you should be doing it because of of this cloud that we're living in. But I'm saying all that is because that we're thinking about loved ones and we long to be with them, and it's that sense of longing, I think, which is very, very typical of Advent. Longing and yearning. What's that song from the 60s with Marianne Faithfull? Was it sort of a wishing and hoping and praying? Well, it's a bit like that in Advent. We're sort of wishing and hoping and praying, that Christmas will come, yes, but that Jesus will come and that He'll fix us. He'll fix this thing and He'll bring us joy, and that will come. It will come. But, we don't know exactly when. But we have the assurance of that. And we have the foretaste of it in this coming Christmas celebration. So anyway, as I said, I was reading about Advent. And this one thing stuck out. And I thought, yeah, that kind of really sort of hits me home, And it said, we are always in Advent until our life ends on earth. We are always in Advent until our life ends on earth. And in heaven, they are always in Christmas. Or rather, it's Christmas. In heaven, it's always Christmas. Something like that. So it was like, we're always in Advent here until this life ends. And it's always Christmas in heaven. So, what does that mean to me, and what does that mean to us where we are right now? It's just that, in some ways, that this sense of longing and preparing and, doing the things we do in this life, our life is always about that, because we're preparing for heaven. We're preparing for Jesus, and we're preparing for eternity. We're always in that mode as followers of Jesus. So Advent in some ways is our life. But, the great reminder really of the great gift that in heaven, it's always Christmas, And that's what we have to look forward to. When everything will be made new and everything will be forever. And all the great joy and the great gatherings you've had with your family, all the great parties and the socials and the great dinners and all those kind of Christmassy things which you like, the cookies and all that kind of stuff. Heaven is going to be like that always. It's just a very consoling thought, I find. I find that very consoling. but also a truism as well about Advent. In some ways, it's not just 4 weeks, that our life is always about Advent. We're always preparing for Jesus. We're always preparing for his coming, and we're always preparing to be with him in heaven, where it's Christmas always. Okay, so that was my one point. And it kind of led me to then think about some of you out there, and how Christmas and this time, what you call the festive season, can be a time of sadness for you, people that you've lost, especially in this past year. I think about the different people that, I've celebrated funerals for in this parish since I've come here, and all the families that have gathered at the funerals, and how they're feeling a particular sadness, because they're missing someone who was close to them, and longing to be with them, and that's very typical of where we are in our humanity and in our faith too, because we know, that but when heaven comes, we will be with them again. It'll be Christmas always. Christmas always. So I share that with you today because I know that many of us have loved and have lost and still miss, and people you can never forget, who are very much etched into your heart and into your memory, that you can never separate yourself from. And the promise, I think, of eternity in some ways speaks to all of that. And the whole message of Christmas speaks to it all as well, And I was going to say, thinking about that, it reminded me of one of the Christmas songs. A Christmas song, it's not a Christmas carol as such, but I think it sort of came out in the 80s, and it's a nice song, and it's probably been sung by a number of different people, but you will all hear it at some stage. But it's kind of very reflective, and it also touches on a certain theological question. And the name of the song is "Mary, Did You Know?" You know the song I'm talking about? It's still here on the radios now. Mary, did you know? And it's the words, really, which are basically, it's like a rhetorical question being made to the Blessed Virgin. She's being asked about her son. Mary, did you know that your son would one day walk on water? Mary, did you know that your son would give sight to the blind? Mary, did you know that your son would heal the leper? And all those kind of wonderful things, as we ponder like the Christmas story and the coming of Jesus and his birth among us. His mother, who was such an important part of the story, our Blessed Mother, who was a saint, who was born out of purity, really, and who was the right person to bring Jesus in. We're wondering about her. What did she know? Mary, did you know this about your... Because, you wonder, don't you? She was a human being, and Jesus was fully human, and so she loved him in the way that, all you mothers love your children, and your children. What did you know that Jesus would turn out to be like this? And of course, theologically, the answer to that is, of course, she didn't know, because she wasn't God. She isn't God. She was a very, very good human being. So she didn't know exactly what Jesus would do. But she did know that he was special, and she did know that he would save the world. She just didn't know how. And as I pondered that question, Mary, did you know? I then come to think, that song, which is a beautiful song, so please look it up if you don't know it. Mary, did you know all these wonderful things your son did? It doesn't mention, Mary, did you know, that your son would die on the cross? Mary, did you know that your son would suffer in the way he did? Mary, did you know that you would have to watch him die? Mary, did you know that you would have to weep and standing watching him at the cross? Or did you know you would have to bury him? And I think that is so poignant to many of us. And I know here in our parish, there's more than one of you, that's lost a child, and you hear it said that, a mother should never ever have to bury her child, and we know that it is a reality for more than a number of us, in this world. But I know specifically in our parish, there are a number of you who have buried children, and I know that how much you miss them, and how much pain it still causes you, which makes that song about Mary even more poignant. Did she know? Of course she didn't know. She couldn't anticipate that she would have to watch Jesus die in the way he died, in the ignominious way that he died, that she had to watch him suffer in that way. She couldn't have known that, but she did know that he would save the world, and she did know that he would make things right, and Jesus does make things right. And so I just wanted to just take a moment really today to mention those people. If some of you are watching, who've lost a child, and the pain, you never thought you would have to do that. And it's a great hole, I know, in your life, and a great hole in your soul. And that's why your faith in Jesus has to be even more important to you at this time. That you didn't know any of this would happen, but you, like Mary, you do know that Jesus was born to save us and to bring us all to him and to take us all to heaven, where it's Christmas always. So I just want to say to you people today who mourn the loss of your child, as Christmas approaches, and you have those sad moments and you have those longing moments, it's right and it's good that you do feel that way, because it's a sign of your sure love and your sure faith, in Jesus himself, who suffered and also died, and his mother watched, but she didn't know. But to remind each one of us, and especially all of you, that that these people that we've lost, that you've lost, for them it's Christmas always. Okay, it's Christmas always in heaven, and let that be our consolation for any of us who's missing someone this Christmas, who was separated because of death. And we see it as such a big chasm, really, that whilst we here in Advent are longing for them, and we're longing for our deliverance, and we're longing in some ways to go home, the ones that you've lost, they're already home, and in heaven it's Christmas always. So if you take a moment today, sometime, look up the song, Mary, Did You Know? And it addresses in some ways our limitations as human beings to completely understand the mystery of the incarnation, and how all of our joys and all of our sorrows, they're all caught up in Mary and the child Jesus, and that very, very special relationship, the same relationship that you have with your children, a bond that cannot be broken, and at the root of it all is a faith which never disappears. And remember, as you prepare now for Christmas, and you gather with those that you can gather with, remember that somewhere else, in heaven, they're celebrating Christmas today and tomorrow and every day. And they're just waiting for you, the day when we'll all be together and Christmas will be eternal for each one of us. That's all I've got for you today. I would lift up Jonah and say hello, but he's asleep on the floor. He's tired of me too. But it's the last blast of Advent. Make the most of it. Ponder these things in your heart. Bring it to prayer, and find that feeling of Advent, which is ultimately finds joy when we celebrate Jesus' birth, because he came to be with us and never leave us. And he's with us even now. Okay? Take care, be joyful, keep the faith. Cheers. Bye-bye.